Alright, so like the instructions said to tape off all of the openings with duct tape. So I've gotten that done now. And it says to pour, the first step is to pour the cleaner degreaser in with 1 quart of warm water. It says don't use hot because you don't want the hot water to mess up the glue on the duct tape. It says you can also use cork, but I don't have any of that, so we use duct tape. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that stuff in, and then I got to spin the gas tank for about 20 minutes, dump it out and rinse it. So let's go ahead and get that poured in. Before we get too far into the video, just want to say thanks to everybody for watching. We appreciate it here on All-Scale Rides. We're going to get back into some Hot Wheels content soon, and maybe as the weather stays nice and dry, not as muddy, we might get some four-wheeler stuff going on too with my son and I. So definitely appreciate it. Please hit the bell for notifications when we get new videos. We're trying for 1 a week right now. Hopefully we can move into 2 a week, but time will tell. So again, thanks for subscribing and watching. Comment and share. Enjoy the video. Timer is set. Alright, it's been about 15 minutes and it was just dripping a little bit and I was spinning around over here. So I took the plugs out of, I don't know if you can see that, out of the sump area over here. Just took those plugs out and just let it drip down. You can see how much difference the concrete is right here where it's been run out. So I just have the water going to rinse it all away, which is perfectly fine. I read the instructions. It's no big deal, especially I'm just going to let the water run for a while and rinse it down the driveway. No big deal. You can really see how much rust it's getting out. And I also need to do the same thing with the inside. See how much comes out. I got to rinse this whole thing out for a little while before I go to the next step. So rinse this, rinse the driveway, we'll be fine. Alright, so this is after round 1. Left it in there about 18 or 19 minutes. Just couldn't wait. Just wanted to see what was going on. This is why I'm glad I didn't paint the outside. The stuff is peeling up a little bit of the primer. Maybe that was a problem with the primer, but it definitely warns to tape off painted areas, so kind of glad I didn't do that until, or I'm not going to do that until later. So since about half of it spilled out early, I'm going to go ahead and mix up the second quart and let that sit in there. Before I'm going to do that, before I mix it though, I'm going to dry off all these ends and re-tape them. I'm going to use this one to fill this time, just because it's angled. I wasn't really thinking, and tape that one off really, really well. That's where most everything spilled out as I was spinning this puppy around. So, all right, round number 2 is done. Got it rinsed out. Okay, that step took about an hour and a half to do, the 2 rounds of cleaner on the inside. So I'm just going to dry it off and pack it up for the night. And tomorrow, as long as it's sunny and warm, which it's supposed to be, we'll go ahead and do the prep and the final sealer, which also take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do, according to the directions. So we just don't want to be out here after the sun goes down and it gets dark. I'd rather do this in the daylight so I can see what I'm doing. Anyway, we'll pick it back up tomorrow. Alright guys, we're back the next day. So the thing is, gas tank's completely dried. We're going to get it ready for the next step, which is metal prep. That's our next step, and that's going to take about 2 hours. Swish it around, let it sit for 20-30 minutes in each area of the tank, and then we can drain that. And then the sealer's the final step, so we'll get to that hopefully before it gets too dark. It's going to rain tomorrow, so we got to get it done today. So in these fittings, I'm going to put the NTPs in there so that the metal prep does not drain out when we're swishing it all around. So let's go ahead and get this thing ready for step number 2, the metal prep. Got the other hole kind of taped up. And so now it's time to pour the metal prep in. And we should be good to go. Gonna focus? Oh no, the other hole's taped off, so no light. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get that filler neck taped off, and then we'll be good to go. Check out the guard dog. Protecting my driveway. Thanks, Flynn. Alright, well that's a little bit better. Reread the directions. It said to keep it in there a minimum of 20 minutes, a maximum of 2 hours. That was on the paper directions that came with the kit. On the bottle, it said 20 to 30 minutes. So 2 hours is probably a little much for what we need. I've been, obviously you've seen in the clips, moving it around every couple of minutes. Make sure everything's covered. So far the liquid's been in there about 25 or 30 minutes so far. So I'm gonna get another 10 or 15 minutes, switch it around a few more times, and then start to rinsing. That's the next step, rinse. All right, if you saw, I just took the tape off all the fittings, except for the two in the sump. And we're gonna go ahead and rinse everything, and then we gotta dry it. So that's why I went ahead and opened up all the holes and fittings and tubes and all that stuff so we can get more airflow. We'll get to that next. I don't know if any of you know about pollen in the south in the spring. You can see the edge of that water is yellow. That's just pollen. Remember I was out yesterday and had this whole area wet, so this is just pollen from one day. And that's probably 3 feet by 5 feet right there. Look at it going down the driveway. That's just pollen. All right, battery died on that last clip. I don't know what I got. We'll figure that out later. But I just finished rinsing it out, swirling it around, get as much water out as I could from each of the openings and things of that nature. So directions say it has to be, quote, bone dry. So we're gonna grab the heat gun and start heating this thing up. If we don't do this tonight, there's a chance that it will flash rust. So that's one of the precautions it says in the directions is once you do the cleaner, you got to do the sealer right after the fact. You can't wait any longer, but it has to be completely dry. So that's where we're at now. Heat gun, let's start drying. I can kind of get a rough idea how fast it's going to dry from the outside, but it's going to take a little longer on the inside. Obviously, it's got to get everything dry throughout. I think I'm going to put a towel over this hole, leave the heat gun in that hole there, and let it go. Should help keep some of the heat in. Just gonna let it go, see what happens for a little while. Now it's just a bunch of hurry up and wait. Gotta keep moving that heat gun around a little bit. The towel's really helping actually keep a lot of that heat in. I can really feel it when I move the towel. So that was a good idea. But this is going to take a while. There was a bunch of water on the outside, just where I'd sprayed it around the lip and up on this area, but all that's gone for the most part. There's maybe a little bit right there, but I can really feel how warm it is. So that's working pretty well. Might take another 20-30 minutes, not really sure, but one good thing, still got Flynn the guard dog. There was a lot of rust in there earlier, so that definitely worked and cleaned it out. There was a lot of water left over in this front corner right here, so just using the air hose really helped because it's so hot in here. I was gonna move this whole thing a little closer to the garage over there, but it's so hot I couldn't move it. So all I had to do now is move the water around. So I'm gonna keep pumping this thing full of hot air, and then every couple of minutes just use the air hose to move the water around, and we should be good. I'd really love to stand this thing up this way because obviously heat rises. Alright, so I've just had the heat gun, which is right here on the ground. I've had it in this tank for probably an hour. Well, probably 30-40 minutes. And had all the other holes blocked off, had it set upright that way. So heat was rising, it's completely dried out. I've already taped up the holes again because we got to put the sealer in. However, it was completely dry, it was perfect. Clean on the inside, it's ready to go. It's really, really good. I'm really happy with that. Just got to mix it up, and then we're going to pour it into the tank, swish it around, swirl it around for 15 minutes or so, pour out the excess, and then we should be done. These guys suck. Alright, let's see if you can see that. But it says it wants it mixed to a uniform color, which is kind of a greenish silver green. Look at that on the bottom. See all that goo? So I got to stir this up pretty good. It's going to take a minute. We'll come back. Actually, I have a pretty decent consistency, and if I scrape the bottom, there's almost no chunks left. So I'm only going to pour in about 75 or 80% of this anyway, because the tank is pretty clean. Actually, I'm going to pour it all in. What am I saying? I'm going to pour it all in and get this stirred up for a few more minutes, swirl it around, empty it out. Alright, let me keep stirring. Alright, this thing says pour in slowly. So I'm going to use the funnel. Probably going to spill a little bit, but we'll see what happens. It's about as slow as I can pour it in and not spill. So now we're going to swirl this stuff around the tank. Okay, I got it all poured in. So now I just need to swirl this puppy around slowly. It says to make sure that it gets covered everywhere. I got to be mindful of that one opening on this far end to make sure nothing comes out and spills. Go grab a flashlight, see if I can see inside there. So got to get that nice and even and make sure it's covered everywhere and get the extra dumped out, and then we're done with the inside. I can actually hear it dripping from this end down. So I know there's way too much in there, but I just want to make sure everything gets covered. Stuff kind of stinks. Glad I'm outside doing this. When I'm done, I do not want this face down because I don't want these threads getting clogged up in the sump area. If there's going to be any extra, I'd rather be in that far corner or here where it's not really going to be affected by the fuel. Alright, I think we're good. I've got it swirled around for probably 20-30 minutes now. Different areas all around, you saw that. So I'm going to get a bucket to dump the extra in and we'll be good. Not bad. Probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 ounces came out total. So it does say you can clean it up with a damp cloth. So that was really about it down in there, no big deal. A couple ounces. So I'm going to turn this upside down so all the extra dries up in that area rather than down low at the sump. That's the last thing I want. I'm going to pull the NTP fittings out right here. Those guys. And then clean up the threads with a damp cloth like it says. And then I'm done. I'm going to set it in the garage and let this puppy dry. And then maybe this weekend we'll clean up the outside and paint it. But I'm going to let this dry at least for a day or so before I mess with it. So that should be it for tonight. Don't really need to see the cleaning of the threads. That's just the damp cloth. But I'm going to pour it out one more time. Clean up this mess. and go have dinner. So this is the drip pan I used. Everything's pretty hard at this point. It did expand a little bit. I don't know how much, maybe 50% or something, but maybe just because it was so much extra. But anyway, so it's 2 days later, and that's all nice and dried and all that stuff. Let's see if this will focus in there. Everything's nice and clean and smooth. I don't think that's going to focus in there. Maybe. So now we just got to, there we go. Now we just got to touch up a few places where the cleaner messed up the primer, which we kind of figure was going to happen somewhat, and finished getting the sump area smoothed out. All right, got it flipped over. When I was on the stand at one point, it did fall, so I'll have to touch that up a little bit, just scrape, no big deal. But before everything dried, I got in there with a wet paper towel and cleaned out all the threads, so we're in good shape there. But now it's a matter of finish getting this cleaned up a little bit. Some of this body work right in through here. Maybe another layer of primer while it's kind of sunny, and maybe get it sprayed black. And then we'll be done, ready to put it back in the car. Alright, I just gave it a very quick sand with some 320. You can kind of see in there, that's actually in the metal when it was pressed or folded or whatever it was, but you kind of see the dark spots are low. That might be some Bondo work there, I don't remember, but that's some of the sealer that dripped onto the outside that I need to get rid of. But anyway, not bad. It'll be just fine. Just want to get it kind of smooth, make sure there's no big crusties on it. So I'll touch up the areas that don't have any primer around here on the welds and some in through here. Get a good layer of primer on it, and then we can get it black. Alright, we're back the next day. Primer's dried. It's been drying for a day or so, and so I got it sitting out, got it wiped down. I don't know if you can see that on the towel, but just sitting out in the garage, or in front of the garage, and got a bunch of pollen on it just from sitting there for a day. But anyway, so I got it wiped down. I'm going to do the top face first. Flynn, I'm going to do the top face first in case I don't like it. It's going to be easier to fix because once it's actually in the car, you won't see this. So we're going to go ahead and get a coat of black on that side. Alright, we got the second coat of black on there now. It's looking pretty good. I think I'm going to do probably 3 or 4 total coats. Coming out pretty nice. I mean, it's not perfectly smooth like if it were paint on the exterior of a car, but it's the gas tank. Just got to show you how bad this pollen is out here. This has been sitting outside for about a day underneath the overhang of the garage, no big deal. But this is a damp towel. It's a damp paper towel. See how much comes off in one swipe. So anyway, it's been a few days, and this is where we're at right now. The gas tank has, I don't know, 4 or 5 coats of paint on it, and I'm really happy with it, other than it being dusty, but no big deal. So the next steps that we have are this. All of these fittings we're not going to be using here. That one we're going to use as a return line. This one might be our vent, haven't decided. Our vent there, and then we have this guy over here that needs to get capped off. So I went to AutoZone and just got a couple of caps that we'll use, depending on what size the actual metal part, the outlet on the tank is. A couple of hose clamps. That's not enough sizes, I know that. Someone recommended to me I'm going to take this JB weld and kind of mix up a small little ball and put it at the end of this cap, and then put the cap on, kind of help seal it up and hold it in place a little bit better. Before I can finish this, I ordered a new floater, fuel level floater. I don't know exactly what that thing's called. I ordered a new one. Should be here in a few days, and then we can actually get the tank pretty close to being able to install it in the car. Need to order the vent a fuel vent piece that we're going to mount up high near the filler neck somewhere. I need to order that to see what size hoses I need to get, and I don't know which of the fittings we're going to use on the tank itself. Alright guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this particular video of the gas tank refurbish. Like I said, waiting on a couple of parts to come in over the next couple of days, and then we can get some hoses and get this thing installed in the car next video. I'm also going to try and work on some of the rear suspension pieces as well. Anyway, appreciate everybody watching. Please give it a thumbs up on the video if you liked it. Comment down below any suggestions or ideas. I'm just kind of winging this as I go. And really appreciate everybody watching. Stay tuned. All scale rides.